the stuff. Hello, everyone. You listen to another episode of Let's Talk Sports with Tim McCain, and I am here with Amy Lemon. Say it again.
Lemenager.
Lemenager. Amy Lemenager. She is a professional boxer, 2-0. I think she's ranked the fifth middleweight in the country. Yes.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. How does it feel starting out? You started boxing when you were 11 years old. How does it feel starting out at 11 years old and now you're the fifth middleweight in the country? How does that make you feel?
It's really a great feeling. A lot of work has been put into that. So years and years of training and grinding and just working for it. So it's been a long road, but it's been a fun road.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I was reading one of your Facebook posts, and you talked about how like the first boxing match you were in, you had all those emotions that you were dealing with, but then when the judge raised your hand and the crowd went crazy, that's when you fell in love with boxing. How old were you when that first experience happened? And can you just take us through that experience?
So I was fighting, I want to say it's probably 12 or 13. I was fighting a girl by the name of Cheyenne. It was my first fight, and she was undefeated at that time. She had like 5 or 6 fights at that time. And so I was a little nervous going into it. I'm like, I've never fought before. I've sparred and had kind of like mock fights at the gym, but we hadn't been able to find a girl for me to fight up until that point. And when we fought, I actually ended it early. The judges decided to end it because of her bloody nose. And when I won, it was such a great feeling because it's like, okay, well, I can do this. Walking into that, it's kind of nervous and, can I do this? Is this something that I'd be able to do? A girl who has 5 fights and is undefeated. Am I going to be able to actually hold my own in this fight? And, winning that fight and moving on to more fights, it just gave me the confidence I needed to beat her. And yeah, it was a great feeling, winning a boxing match and putting all the work into training and cutting weight and running and training for hours a day and doing mitts and sparring, and then being able to finally step in that ring and fight and get your hand raised is by far the best feeling in the world.
So you started out actually big. You were actually a hockey athlete before you went to boxing. What led you from hockey to boxing?
So my dad actually boxed at Baylor in Texas when he was going to school down there at Waco Boxing Club. And he knew it was a good workout. So when I was playing hockey, I knew I wanted to play college hockey. That was my goal from a very young age. I loved hockey. I was a goaltender. So in order to get into better shape for hockey, because I was a little chubby, he decided, hey, let's try to find something to get you into better shape, work on hand movement, quickness, some of those muscle areas. And he's like, would you mind trying boxing? And I had no problem trying boxing. His intentions were not to have me fight. It was just strictly for a workout. My mom was like, okay, as long as she doesn't fight and she doesn't get hit in the face or anything. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do any of that. So I started, my dad took me to a gym in West Duluth. So I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, called Lorenzi's Boxing. And I had a private lesson with the coach, the owner of the gym, Joe Lorenzi. And it was the hardest workout I've ever done. And I was dead. And I threw up after. My dad took me to get Dairy Queen after, and I threw up as a treat. So after that moment, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great for hockey. This is going to get me into better shape than girls my age and around the country even, So I really fell in love with it. And then as boxing continued and I continued to work out and get to know that gym family and I started sparring. I'm still not going to fight, but I'll spar a little bit here and there with my coach. And then I ended up doing well sparring, and I just kind of fell in love with that intensity and that adrenaline rush of being in the ring, which led to me fighting. Unfortunately, my senior year of high school, so I had D1 and D3 offers to play hockey in college, but I blew up my knee. And as somebody who knows that they wanted to go into law enforcement, my surgeon recommended that I do not continue playing hockey for another 4 years because the worry was I was going to do it again. So I had a complete reconstruction on my right knee. And so hockey ended for me, but boxing continued. So through college, I went to some collegiate tournaments and represented my school close to home. And it was really exciting.
What was that experience like, knowing that you just take us back to that experience, like when you had that knee injury and
Mhm.
the doctor suggested that you not play a sport that you love, that you played before even boxing. Just take us through the emotions and what led you to overcome um, not being able to play one of the sports you love.
Yeah, that is one of the toughest things I've ever been through, just because hockey was such a big part of my life. I started playing at a super young age, and I'd never been anything but goalie. So goalies in hockey, you go down on your knees and you twist and turn to stop the puck. So that was the reason my surgeon had for me not continuing to play. If I would have been skating out, if I would have been a forward or defenseman or something like that, I could have continued to play because I'm not going down on my knees in those weird positions. So that was a really tough thing to hear. I could continue to play and said, I'm going to have this surgery and I'm going to keep playing. But with female hockey, even if you decide to go play pro after college, there's not a lot of opportunities as far as financially. I'm not going to be able to support myself on playing professional hockey like a male would. Um, so I just decided my career is more important, and I'm going to have to let go of hockey. Fortunately, I had really strong connection with my parents. We're super close, tight knit family, so they helped me through all of it. My grandparents would come pick me up for PT. I had a really great group of friends, one of which, her name's Sophie McGovern. She's going to play pro hockey in Finland after coronavirus ends, because I don't think she can go over there now. But she would come pick me up and we go get ice cream and stuff like that. So it's not like I was ever alone. And hockey has stayed an important part of my life. I coached for a while. Now I'm more into coaching with boxing, but having another sport like boxing to fall back on and letting me get my being competitive, I still have that opportunity to be competitive and compete and exercise. So having that sport really helped me. I love boxing just as much as hockey. I just happened to be in hockey longer, and I saw it as a way to get scholarships for school. So, I really am grateful for my gym family, my real family, and then also my faith helping me get through those hard times.
I got you. So did the knee injury affect your boxing movement and mobility? Like, how did you handle that?
No, because I'm standing up straight. So when I bend my knees and stuff, it's fine. But if I were to go down into like that butterfly position as a goalie, where you go down and you twist your legs out, that's the position that hurts. Uh, when I was at a college preparation tournament this summer before college hockey, and what happened is I was sliding across the crease. So I was down in the butterfly, and a girl came and she fell and she slid into my knee. So I was already down and my leg was like this, and then she separated it. So that's kind of what happened. So I don't know if you like Adrian Peterson on the Vikings.
Yes, one of
So
my
I
favorite running
same,
backs of all time.
basically the same tear. So my MPFL, which is the ligament on the inside of your knee, is completely torn. So I have cadaver ligaments and stuff in there. So it was a complete reconstruction because I completely dislocated it and ruined all those things in there. I don't even know what they're called, tendons and ligaments and stuff. So,
Wow, got you. I got you. So you talked about your faith. How does faith play a part in boxing from your perspective? It's like, let's say you're down in the dumps, somebody's beating you, and how does your faith, how does your mindset go into the ring if you're losing in points in a fight?
well, so my grandpa would argue this with me. My grandpa is a super strong Christian. He doesn't necessarily like the fact that I fight, because obviously fighting is not necessarily a good thing. But I think that um, if I'm losing or something like that, I would never blame my faith. I think God has given me a lot of opportunities to do the things I've done. I've traveled all over the country for boxing, opportunities I wouldn't have had if I wasn't in the sport. I've also gotten to travel to Nova Scotia to fight the Canadian champion, which is something I would not have been able to do without boxing. So I think God has put me into certain pathways like boxing and like law enforcement, and hockey. Maybe there was a reason I wasn't supposed to continue hockey. I was supposed to stay close to home instead of traveling far away for school. Um, so my faith is a huge part of boxing, but I would, prayers for a safe fight between me and my opponent. Things like that. I would never blame my faith for losing. That's on me. But just safety and, knowing that God has a plan for me at all times.
I respect that. I respect that. So, as a female boxer, and somebody who respects women's sports, what do you think the media can do? What do you think the sports world can do to promote women boxing, women's sports in general, to a higher level than what it is currently?
You know, I think combat sports is a lot further than a lot of other sports. They give people like Holly Holm and Katie Taylor in the in boxing and MMA world that are really doing a great job forefronting it for other women. I hope I can be like that for other women, younger women. And there's other sports, like for instance, hockey, right? In high school, my locker room was a public locker room. It had cracked benches and the door wouldn't shut. The men's locker room, or the high school boys locker room, they had a flat screen TV. It was only theirs. Nobody else was allowed to use it. They had skate sharpeners. They had 2 locker rooms connected into one. They had cabinets. They had a full bathroom and showers. They had all sorts of stuff. So from a young age, I realized that, there's a disparity between men's and women's sports. Actually, the person that has fought hardest for that for me is my dad. My dad has forefronted so much stuff for me as far as women's boxing and women's hockey goes, and other sports, women's soccer. I think media-wise, I think giving women the same opportunity as men to be on sport or on TV, right? So like, for instance, the Minnesota Hockey Day, they show a live game of the men's playing or the boys high school team playing, but they show a recording of the girls at like 11 o'clock at night. So they don't do a live game for the girls. They only do a live game for the guys, which in my mind is bullshit. We should both get live, right? So I think the media can do things like that, giving us equal opportunities by showcasing how wonderful women's sports are. They're just as great as men's sports. There's a lot more, in my mind, compassion when it comes to sports with women. From watching different sports over the years, I think women really put a lot of effort, not only into like the hitting part of it, but they have a lot of emotions. They really care a lot about their sport and their team, where not necessarily the same goes for men. Not all men, but some men. So in my mind, I guess that's how the media could help, is just giving equal opportunities. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do there.
A lot. I agree with you. I agree with you there. I remember I went to UNCG. I graduated in 2018. I love UNCG. But when I was a student there, I think it was like 2016, the women's team, they just had they had their jersey names, and they just had the back of, they had like in their jersey numbers, but they didn't have their names on the back. It was just UNCG.
Yeah.
And then for the men, you saw the names on the back, and I was like, why is that? And then finally they did change it. I think like in 2017 or 2018,
Yeah.
they changed it, but it took some time. And
Yep.
that's the thing that was weird to me, because it was like UNCG women's team. UNCG actually is a women's college. It started out as a women's college. So yeah, so it's like, you should definitely have UNCG women's names on the back if you have, it started out as a women's school.
Yeah.
But you're right. The media should do a better job with that. I completely agree. I think one of the things that I want your perspective on this. I think one of the things that that the sports world can do is they can create programs where they teach, whether let's say a high school or a college team, they go to these elementary schools and they teach little girls how to play basketball. Or they teach little girls how to play boxing. What is your perspective on that?
I love that'd be awesome. Right now, so when I was at Lorenzi's Boxing, so Joe Lorenzi, the owner of Lorenzi's Boxing in Duluth, he ended up moving a couple of years ago to Bemidji to pursue his career. So now I am at Twin Ports Boxing, but as a coach at Lorenzi's Boxing, I coached youth boxing for a long, long time. For like 10 years, I was coaching there. And I loved to see little girls come through that door, because they love the attention. They love the competitiveness of it, especially when they're competing against other little boys. I think it's awesome to see. I coached a youth girls soccer team a couple summers ago, which was super cool to see them grow and learn. And, I totally agree with you. I think that'd be super cool idea, to teach girls different sports, see what they like. I tried a bunch of different sports before I found hockey and boxing, and see, what fits them and get them involved for sure.
Agreed. So I have a two-part question. So who were some of the women boxers that you looked up and you kind of, used your style? Maybe not even just women, but just men as well. Men or women boxers that you used as an example for your own style. And then two, who are your top 5 female boxers of all time?
Ooh, that's tough. Okay. All right. Well, so I'm going to start with the first question. So George Foreman, my dad was a big fan of him. So I watched a lot of him growing up. Before I even started boxing, he'd show me boxing fights, and Mike Tyson too. I like how George Foreman came back from being like kind of this old man, and he worked his ass off, and then he excelled. I thought it was really cool. And I have a similar style to George Foreman, and I have a similar style to Mike Tyson. And yeah, so I really liked watching them. At nationals, I got the chance to meet Clarissa Shields, and I watched her documentary before going there. She's a super cool lady. When I was out in Michigan, I got to train at her gym with her coach for a while. I really respect her. I think that it's a really great example of coming from, poverty and family problems and stuff, but you can rise above that and create what you want. I relate that to a young man I'm mentoring through my gym right now, who's going through some stuff at home, that, you can work hard in school and work hard at boxing, because if you work hard at those things and you put all of your effort into those things, you can get out of the situation you're in now and you can make yourself successful. So I think that's really important. And she's a great person for people like that to look at. And then top female 5 boxers. Oh, that's up. Sue Fox. She's given me a lot of advice about going pro. So as an amateur, I could not find fights. So I ended up going pro. And she kind of talked to my dad and I about that. And she runs a women's boxing archive network on Facebook, which I'm a part of. She posts some cool stuff on there. Clarissa Shields, just because she's the GOAT. She's in my weight class. She's I can't even compare to her. She's awesome. I'd love to train with her, have the opportunity someday. Let's see. There is a woman, and I can't remember her name. She lives down in Texas, and I can't leave the Zoom meeting, but I watched, there's a fight, and I can't remember her name, but she's a short African-American lady, and she fought this tall basketball WNBA player, and she totally looks like she was not going to win. And she knocks her out. And I'd watch that fight over and over and over again, just because this tall lady hit the mat so hard. I was like obsessed with it, and I was obsessed with her. And then I was down in Texas training at Waco, where my dad went, and my dad gave her a call. And I don't know why I can't remember her name. She was a big influence, but yeah. And then Katie Taylor is definitely somebody I look at a lot. She's in a different weight class, but I really admire her work ethic. And she's definitely one of the best in the business. And my last one, I'm gonna have to say, her name is Paloma. She was my first boxing coach other than Joe. And she really taught me a lot of discipline, and she pushed me to really get into the sport of boxing. She was the first person I sparred with, and she no longer boxes, but she has a couple of amateur fights. But I'm going to say her because she was quite the lady, and I miss training with her.
Wow, what's interesting? You did not name 2 people who I thought you would have named.
Who?
Ann Wolf.
Ann Wolf is who I was talking about.
Oh, you are? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
What the hell? I can't remember her name. Yeah.
Wolf was 5'9", though. That's pretty tall.
I know, but if you watch, I'll send you the link after. It's a YouTube video of Ann Wolf fighting, and she, this tall basketball lady. Okay. She was so tall, and she, like, Ann Wolf does not look like she's gonna beat her, and she knocks her out so hard. And I was like enthralled with this video. But yeah, she's definitely one of my.
Okay, she's part of your. Okay, she's top 5.
For whatever reason.
Well, and then Layla Ali. You didn't mention her name either, which is interesting. Because
Yeah.
when they think of women's boxing, they had the whole thing with Clarissa Shields, and she was saying she was the GOAT and she could destroy Layla Ali and everything like that. So that was interesting. You didn't put her name in there.
I have not watched a ton of Layla Ali's fights. If I'm gonna be honest, I've watched more of like the oldie fights with George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, and I haven't watched a lot of Layla Ali's fights. I have heard some things about Layla Ali. I don't really know how accurate they are, but she didn't take a lot of hard fights.
Mm.
I don't know. I guess that kind of gave me an impression. Nothing against the lady. I don't really, but yeah, that's why I didn't list her.
Hey, I always say this, Ann Wolf. Look, just hearing from the stories and just watching her, she was totally bad. She was a bad mother. You know what?
Yep. Yeah. And I seriously can't remember. No, I didn't remember her name, but yeah, I got to talk to her on the phone. I was gonna train at her gym in Texas when we were down there, but we didn't have time before we had to leave. But she's quite a lady. She's a badass for sure.
That's crazy. Okay. So let's say there's a little girl. She's entering the gym. She's like 10 years old. And she wants to be a boxer. She wants to be Amy Hardhands in the future. She wants to be someone like you. What kind of advice would you give her?
Don't give up when it gets hard. Keep working. Do things outside the gym. For instance, when I was playing hockey, my dad got me a huge thing of tennis balls, and I'd sit in my basement and throw it at the wall and catch it in my glove hand as a goalie over and over and over again. It's not the hardest thing to do. It's not physically draining, but I would give them advice that, you can learn things outside the gym, watch tape, put your road work in, work hard in the gym, listen to your coaches, and never forget the reason why you're in the gym in the first place, and have fun.
Yes, ma'am. That's dope. So, where can people find you on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? And are you fighting anyone in 2020, or are you going to go to 21?
So I know you're in South Carolina, that there's an opportunity possibly for me to fight in like a month or so in South Carolina, if they go through and they're able to find me an opponent. I've struggled. So since Corona happened, there's been a couple opportunities for me to fight, and they just haven't worked out. Not on my end. The promoters haven't been able to figure out the sanctions or whatever. And the other issue is people don't necessarily want to travel to fight me, given the current climate in the country. There's a lady who is a teacher out on the East Coast that we've been trying to get set up for us to fight. Super awesome lady, super nice, but she's a teacher, so she can't travel because she's quarantined for 14 days after, and she needs to go back to work. It's not like a weekend thing, so that's kind of tough. But I'm really hoping I can get in a fight within the last couple months here of 2020, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. I've been training every day. I'm at the gym every single day. My coach is actually in the process of opening a new gym, so that's super exciting, being a part of that. And whatever happens. I have my faith, so it will work out how it's supposed to work out.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you very much, Amy. I'm telling you, everybody listen to this. Amy Hardhand, she's gonna be the future of women's boxing. I cannot wait to see it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and Facebook, Amy Hardhands Lemenager, and on Instagram, Hardhands Boxing is my handle.
Yes, ma'am. You have a great one.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.